one and all, and listen to tales of excitement and adventure. Tales of daring heroes, savage monsters, and bards who just couldn't keep it in their pants. Tales of friendship, nobility, drunken foolishness, and unforgettable fun. These are tales of role-playing games, fair listeners, and this is Rollin' Bones. My name is Ryan Howard, and I shall be your guide. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Rollin' Bones with Ryan Howard, or rather, welcome to Danishes and Dragons, your RPG morning show. My name is Ryan Howard, I am your host and king of the Boneheads, and today we are going to be doing another character creation stream. This time we will be taking a look at the Valor Bard. If I ever get the chance to play a bard, there's one of two options that I would end up going with, and this is one of them. We're also going to be discussing donuts this morning, because who doesn't love donuts? Donuts are fantastic. My hair is really wonky. I might have just made matters worse, but we're going to deal with it today. I need a haircut soon. Oh, that's worse. All right, there we go. Now I don't feel like everything's to the side of me. I'm a dummy. I keep forgetting that the image that I'm seeing on OBS is reversed. So I'm just being a dummy. Anyway, yeah, we're going to talk about donuts because I have a lovely wife who actually makes her own donuts, and they are fantastic. I was going to save one to show you guys on camera, but me moving around the camera almost never works very well. Occasionally I can, move it, like if I've got the second chair in here and I get one of the cats to jump up in it, then, I can move it there and show you. But the donuts are fantastic. I'll probably put a picture of them on Instagram here once we're done. But the way that she does them, they're not fried. They are baked. And we actually got her some donut pans to put in the oven. They're essentially like your muffin pans that you would cook muffins in, but they're round and have a place where the hole can go. And they work really well. They make great shaped donuts, and the recipe she uses is like a sour cream donut. I don't know if any of you out there have had that, but it's actually really good. Sour cream donuts, I feel like, are better than your typical glazed donuts, and I think they're even better than like your regular standard issue cake donut. Sour cream donuts really are like the cat's meow if we're 65. Actually, that's more like if you're 75. That's like my grandparents' generation would say stuff like that. So yeah, if I can't have my wife's donuts, if for some reason I'm on the road or, I want a donut from somewhere else, there's, we of course have to talk about where to get the best donuts because it's important. So there's a place here in the Nashville area that, Nashville people will be very familiar with called Shipley Donuts. Shipley is probably the best donut place in the entire metro area. I say it's one of the best donut places, period. It's really good. They've got really good donuts. back when I worked in an office, my manager would occasionally bring us Shipley donuts, just to keep morale up. That's the kind of thing I miss about being in an office is your manager's just being like, hey, I know that you guys are struggling, and I know that it's mostly my fault. So here's some donuts to make you feel better for 2 minutes. And even though it, ultimately does nothing, ultimately the only thing that's going to change my attitude is you guys, not standing over my shoulder, wondering why I'm not doing things the exact way that you want them to. It's still fun. It's nice to get donuts. If you guys give me just 1 second, I need to move my light fixture over. There we go. Now I look less like a ghost. Somewhat. So yeah. As far as like local places, Shipley Donuts is one of my favorites. There's a place in Charlotte where I'm from called Duck Donuts, which is also really good. Kind of a similar concept. They've got, like your artisan donuts. I believe they have a maple bacon donut at Duck, which is really good. I've had maple bacon donuts a few times in my life, and it's something that I really enjoy. Elfie obviously hates it, but maple bacon donuts I think are delicious. I am all on board with the mixing of the maple flavor and the bacon flavor in some kind of dessert. I think chocolate and bacon actually go really well together as well. I also like chocolate with spicy peppers. I think that's a good combination as well. We're getting a little far afield of donuts, though. Elfie, no. You're not ruining the donut. You are enhancing the sweetness of the maple syrup with the saltiness and the savoriness of the bacon. That is what you're doing. So, Duck Donuts is also very good. There's this one like custom donut place where you basically make your own donuts. No, I'm not going to dip a ghost pepper in chocolate and eat it. I'm not going to eat a ghost pepper. Typically, it's chili and chocolate. Those two things work well together. Chili peppers and chocolate tend to work really well. I don't think jalapenos or habaneros would work well with chocolate. They are a little too... I'm trying to think of the right word. I'm tempted to say a little too fruity. They've got a little bit of sweetness to them that kind of offsets the sweetness of the chocolate, whereas chili peppers, I don't feel like have as much sweetness to them, because chili peppers can be combined with other sweet things. That's actually pretty common to have, like a sweet chili sauce. I feel like there's a lot of Asian sauces that mix like honey and chili peppers as well. But the jalapeno, the habanero, and heaven forbid the ghost pepper should not be mixed with chocolate. I should have said just chili peppers, because that is ultimately the best pepper to mix with chocolate. Now, like I was saying, there's this custom donut place in Charlotte, and there have been a couple. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a place where you literally go up and say, I want this kind of donut with these toppings on it, and then they make it for you. And you can get like a dozen as well. If you are going into a donut shop that makes custom donuts and ordering a dozen, and you've got like specific requests for each of them, congratulations on earning your Karen Merit Badge. But I've seen it happen. And places like that invite this kind of thing. It really is... the concept of the embarrassment of riches really does play out well in these restaurants where it's all designed around, like you make your own thing. I used to work in a pizza place called Uncle Mattio's Pizza, where you basically, you pick your crust, you pick your sauce, your cheese, your toppings, and go from there. We had a couple of pizzas that were like on the menu, but we didn't have like a... If you walked up and said, I want a pepperoni pizza, we could make you a pepperoni pizza. But the spirit of Uncle Mattio's was that you get a 3-topping pizza of your own creation that costs this much for this size, sauce, cheese, and 3 toppings. It was actually not a bad deal. But the problem was, you'd get people who would come in, and rather than going to like Pizza Hut or Little Caesars or somewhere like that to get a whole bunch of inexpensive pizzas to feed like a youth group or a Super Bowl party or, whoever's coming over, where you have a whole bunch of people, they would come in like off the street, not call ahead, not put anything in, because, there was a way to call in an order. There was a way to do orders online, so that you could, like give us advanced warning. They'd walk in. It'd be like 2 guys walk in and be like, we'd like 6 large pizzas. And you're on the line. It's Friday. There's a line out the door and you're like, 6 large pizzas. Dude. Nothing like waiting to the last minute. And so you make the pizzas in front of them. And making a large pizza on that pizza line was actually very difficult because the plastic barrier between myself and the toppings, where the pizza goes for you to put the toppings on it, was about that long. Yeah, right about that long. And the large pizza was 16 inches across. So that was more than 16 inches. And so it would hang off a little bit, and you had to, like reach across. I know it's not like real people problems, especially because this was a job I had when I was like 19 to 21. But yeah, those were my days of working in the pizza restaurant. But yeah, you'd get people who would come in and pull all kinds of shenanigans as far as trying to get extra toppings. You'd have like a couple come in, and the first guy would go through and order his pizza, go down, and then his wife would start ordering the pizza. I always noticed it was the man that would go first and go down, and it was the wife who was trying to sneak extra toppings on the pizza. I don't know why, but that's just how the math ended up. Like, this is how these situations ended up. The man would go down, and the woman would be standing there as the man is paying for both of their orders, saying, like, okay, 2 9-inch pizzas with 3 toppings. And so as that transaction's going on, she's trying to add more toppings to her pizza. And I'm like, hey, and so I have to call down to the person at the register. I'm like, add an extra topping, add another extra topping, add another extra topping. I was always good at ruining those people's days, being like, you are not going to get free toppings out of me. This is my pizza line, and you are not going to pull that crap here. But it was always annoying. It always made me kind of wish that the register was actually the first thing you came to, so that you had to like pick your toppings, and then the printout would go to the people making the pizza, and they would make it. But no, they had it set up like Subway or Moe's, where you start down here and you say everything you want, we take you down the line, then at the end you pay. I always felt like it should have been backwards because of the amount of people who were trying to cheat you out of toppings. And because it was always difficult, we had like the big fan going, the vent over top of our oven. That was always going. And then we had music going in the store, so you could barely hear anything. It was a very, very loud environment. And so people who were particularly soft spoken, I would have difficulty hearing what they would say. And so I always just wanted, they talk to the cashier, I get a printout of what they want, and then I make that pizza. Apparently that's too much to ask for, though. That would completely invalidate whatever it was they were trying to do. And just the world would end, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. Oh, speaking of cats, we have a Ronin. Ronin has arrived. He has landed. He is sitting in his spot. He was looking directly at you, but then someone honked their horn outside, and Ronin had to see what that was about. So, anyway, enough of me whining about pizza, because we're talking about donuts. So, anyway, the custom donut people probably have the same problems that I had as a custom pizza person. So, last kind of like local place I want to shout out, and this is an extremely limited chance that you'll get to have this unless you live in very specific areas. Let's go ahead and look this up just to make sure I've got the locations correct. So, yeah, the place is called Voodoo Donuts. And Voodoo Donuts, I believe, started in either Washington or Portland. Yeah, so they are in Oregon and Colorado. That's kind of the locations that they have. It looks like they started in Portland, and they've got 2 locations in Portland. They have one in Milwaukee, Oregon. I did not know there was a Milwaukee, Oregon. There's one in Eugene. There are 2 in Denver, Colorado. There's one in Austin, Texas. There's one in Houston, Texas. And then the one that I've actually eaten at, this was on my honeymoon, was at Universal Orlando. And then they've got one on City Walk in Universal Hollywood. They are really good. They are, in fact, very good. They've got all kinds of different crazy things. They have a donut called Old Dirty Bastard, which is a yeast donut with chocolate frosting, and that's got Oreo cookies on top of it with peanut butter drizzled over top of it. They've also got some other, like, crazy, weird specialty donuts that I'm not going to mention on here. They do have one called the Pothole, which is a Long John filled with Bavarian cream, topped with Oreos, and it's got 2 lines of yellow icing on it, so it looks like a road. That's pretty cool. They've got one that's cream-filled and is shaped like, well, you know. They have a chocolate cake donut with a pentagram frosted on it. They've got all kinds of crazy weirdness. And they've got some like sour cream donuts as well, some crawlers that are frosted. But their donuts are very good. They do, to validate my earlier point, they have a donut called the Ring of Fire, which is a cake donut, a chocolate cake donut dusted in cinnamon, sugar, and cayenne pepper with a chili pepper on top of it. So, point Ryan. And they also have one called Marshall Mathers, which is a donut with M&Ms on it. Which you just have to appreciate that. But anyway, they're actually pretty good. So if you're ever at Universal Studios, either Hollywood or Orlando, you can get donuts there. They're very good. And if you live in Portland, or Eugene or anywhere in Oregon or in Denver, Colorado, you pretty much have an embarrassment of riches. Austin and Houston, you guys also have it. So, I should add that to the list of reasons why I should move to Houston. Or Austin. I don't know. I don't know if I want to move to Texas. It seems like everyone's moving to Texas. It's one of those places where, you hear about, like Joe Rogan's moving to Texas. There's all kinds of people. It seems like the release valve for California right now is Texas. And so it seems like Texas could get pretty easily overcrowded. And as someone who lives in Nashville, I can tell you for sure that too many people from California will, in fact, destroy your city. Sorry, Loopy, whenever you join us. But yes, too many people from California will, in fact, just, like, your city will catch fire immediately. There's a certain number, and when you cross that number, just like... Not the whole city, but, like a fire will start somewhere. Or a tornado will hit your city. As in Nashville, we don't get fires, we get tornadoes. Which are like fires, only windy. Anyway, that concludes today's... Actually, no, it does not conclude today's donut discussion. Because we have not talked about kind of the bottom two levels of where you can get donuts. This is when you are truly desperate to have a donut and you don't know what local shop is good. You can always go to one of the kind of fast food purveyors of donuts or a gas station. Now, on the subject of gas stations, I will tell you, Twice Daily does not have good donuts. Quick Trip does. Quick Trip has the best donuts. Quick Trip has donuts that are better than either of the two major, like, fast food donut places. So if someone's like, do you prefer Krispy Kreme or Dunkin'? Me being the, I want a third option, I'm a contrarian jerk that I can be in conversations, will go Quick Trip. I actually did that to my Connect group not too terribly long ago. They were trying to ask if we prefer Jersey Mike's or Jimmy John's, and I was just like, I prefer, like local sub places that are really good. They're like, yeah, we all know. We know. Jimmy John's or Jersey Mike's. And I was like, I actually prefer Firehouse Subs. Okay, that's a good third option, but, Jimmy John's or Jersey Mike's. They were really pressing me on this. Everyone likes to have, like, binary options. I don't see the appeal of that. I like to have several options. Although I do know that for a majority of people, and again, I discovered this working at the pizza restaurant, there's a maximum threshold of options that you can give people. Yeah, Elfie does not like any of those three places. And I can't say I blame her because, as you all know, Elfie is a vegetarian, and those, like, fast food sub places do not have good vegetarian options. Unless you really just want lettuce, tomato, and cheese on a sandwich. Of those three, actually, you'd have to throw in the fourth option of... I think Subway might actually give you the best veggie options, and even then, you have to eat Subway. But yeah, I completely lost track of what I was talking about. Jimmy John's, Firehouse Subs, which ones? Oh, too many options. Yeah, working at the pizza restaurant, there's a maximum threshold of options you can give people before they just have a meltdown. I've seen it happen in the restaurant. People would just, like, look at the pizza line and see all these toppings that we had and just be like, I don't know what I want. We had one lady's order. The idea of the restaurant was, like, you can have your food Like, we did like a quick lunch, basically, where you can order and have your food and like be out within 25 to 30 minutes, basically. It was like real quick. Because, we cook your pizza for 5 minutes or something like that. I don't remember how long we were cooking them. Went through on a conveyor belt. And it was all like built around fast service. That breaks down when you can't actually answer the questions we're asking you. And so this girl was like standing there, and she had to be like 18 or 19, maybe a little bit younger, maybe still in high school. But she's just like, just having a meltdown. And I look over at the guy with me on the pizza line. I'm like, you're not picking your career. You're not picking what college you're going to. You're picking toppings on your pizza. And if you're having this much trouble with it, I don't know how you're living the rest of your life. But we'd have, like, all the time, we'd have like, your Karens and your Kens come in and be like, oh, there's just too many options here. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know why they talk like 1940s radio announcers, but I'm the only person I know who has ever talked like that, and I break that out fairly regularly just because it's a fun voice to do. But no, too many options can absolutely cripple someone's brain. I don't particularly mind it. I like to look at a big long list of options. I love it when I go to a place that's got like 120 beers. I'm just like, what sounds good? What looks good on here? Because my problem, with the beer list thing, you're looking at 120 beers and about 60 of them are going to be IPAs. So that rules out a majority of the list. Not entirely. Sometimes I feel like having an IPA, but most of the time I'm just like, why are you guys pushing this on me? Because again, I'm a contrarian. So, to round out the donut conversation, we've got the last two places to discuss here, that being Dunkin' and Krispy Kreme. I don't like Dunkin'. I really don't care for Dunkin' Donuts. I don't. They're called Dunkin' now, so I don't care for Dunkin'. I really don't. If someone's like, hey, we got some donuts from Dunkin', here they are, I'll eat one. I'm not going to go out of my way. I disagree with you, Elfie. I think Krispy Kreme is better. The problem is that the Krispy Kremes around here are gross. Like, the buildings themselves are gross. For some reason, whoever owns the franchises in the greater Nashville area does not take good care of them. Having a friend who works in a place like that will, in fact, you'll find out how the sausage is made, and it'll probably ruin some things for you. But I think Krispy Kreme has better donuts than Dunkin'. Dunkin's are... I have trouble believing that Dunkin's were actually baked fresh that morning. Even if you get there like right as they're opening, you take a bite of the donut and you're just like, this feels like it's been sitting out. Yeah, I don't know who, Elfie, I don't know who like owns these franchises around here. I don't know who's running these Krispy Kremes, but yeah, they are kind of gross. There are good Krispy Kremes out there, though. The best Krispy Kreme is the one, and this is just, I feel this way because it's the one that we would always go to growing up and still go to every time we go to the beach. But in Garden City Beach, the Krispy Kreme that's right there next to kind of the main drag across the beach, that's the best Krispy Kreme in existence. And it's really just, it's pure nostalgia momentum that keeps that Krispy Kreme on that lofty pedestal. But that, to me, is the Krispy Kreme. All of the other ones are inferior. They are copies, shadows of the best Krispy Kreme, and that's not the first Krispy Kreme. I don't know where the first Krispy Kreme was or is. I don't know where they're headquartered. I don't feel like looking it up. So, but yeah, I don't like Dunkin'. I prefer Krispy Kreme, but if I had my druthers, we would go to Quick Trip, or I will find a local donut place. It's always good to like find a local place. That's one of my favorite things to do is just find a good local place. Because chains are fine. Like there's good stuff at chain restaurants, but I like unique food experiences. I like to support small businesses. I sound super pretentious right now, but I like that. I like that like small family owned business type model, and I want to support that. And a lot of times, those people have the best food because they have their own recipes that they've perfected and maybe changed over the years and stuff like that. They've got it down to a science, whereas the recipes from these chain restaurants, like come down from on high, and someone in a corporate office in like a test kitchen is saying, this is the way we're going to make this burger now. And some cook in like Sheboygan, Wisconsin is like, but people like it already the way it is. This is the way we're going to make the burger now. Okay. Hey, no one's buying this burger anymore. You're doing it wrong. Okay. But yes, it's a good thing right now that I live in Nashville, because there's all kinds of small family-owned restaurants. Charlotte also had a good amount of like smaller local places. And then Chattanooga has a good food scene as well. So there's all kinds of good places around to find, like good food and stuff like that. Small local places, places with tons of beer. That's like my ideal place. Is a good local like burger and sandwich place that has tons of beer and maybe ice cream. I think I just described the restaurant that we ate at last night, Elfie. Good local burger place, tons of beer and ice cream. That's the place that Elfie and I ate last night. If you're ever in the Nashville area, Burger Republic is muy bueno. These people should be paying me. They really should be. Anyway, that is the food talk today. I'll post pictures of Elfie's donuts on Instagram. For anyone who is not already following me, that is at Howard_Ryan Gregg on Instagram. The same as my Twitter handle, which you can see here on the screen. So, without further ado, let us discuss the Valor Bard. So, the Valor Bard. This build is going to be pretty much 100% out of the player's handbook. This is something you can do probably without the assistance of Xanathar's Guide. I might pull a couple spells from Xanathar's. I don't think I will, though. I think most everything's going to be out of the player's handbook. Which is good every now and then because, sometimes if you're playing, I think Adventurers League, the kind of like organized play of Dungeons and Dragons that you can find at like local game stores and comic shops. I believe the rules for Adventurers League are that you can only use 2 books for a given character. So you'll see some like stupid broken builds that people will make that'll use the PHB and Xanathar's and the Sword Coast Adventure Guide, and they'll be using like a monster race that they got out of Volos. And it's nice to have something that's pretty simple, something that only requires 1 book, especially for anyone who's just getting into D&D and wanting to know like a simple character build that you can do. Because I've had new players come in, and even just showing them like the first time you create a character is going to be a little bit difficult for you. It's going to seem like a lot of options. You're going to feel like that 18-year-old girl at the pizza place I was talking about, who's just like, there's a lot of options. And while it's true that everything is kind of viable in 5e, there are still some good choices and some bad choices. So it can feel, it's not like 3rd edition, where there were some straight up wrong answers, where if you pick, say, this certain type of spellcaster or this type of fighter, you're not going to have fun because you're going to get killed. So in 5e, like, everything can be played, even the base ranger, which I've talked about not being very great. The base ranger can still do all kinds of cool stuff. Cromwell started out as a base ranger, and he did fine up until once we got into higher levels. We started playing around with the Unearthed Arcana ranger, and then we were using some homebrew stuff that Muhammad made for a spellless ranger. But for the most part, even the ranger, which people crap on, rightly so, for not being as good as it could be, it's a perfectly serviceable, perfectly playable class. And you can have tons of fun playing just a regular old PHB ranger. Will you be doing as much damage as something else? Maybe not. So it all depends on your playstyle. All that to say, there's a lot of options. Some of them can make you feel a little bit weak sauce. And so making your first character can be super overwhelming. And if you're having to pull from multiple sources as a new player, if you're like, I'm going to play, well, all of the classes except for a few are in the PHB. I'm going to play, a PHB class, but I'm going to pull my subclass from Xanathar's Guide. As a new player, this can be very, very intimidating. So, all that to say, it's good to every now and then examine a just straight up monoclass, everything out of the PHB build, because you can still make some really awesome characters with the stuff that's just in the player's handbook. It's one of the great things about 5th edition. As much as I've come to rely on Xanathar's Guide for other cool stuff, especially, recently with my my last 2 characters were a Gloomstalker Ranger, and then Hung Su, as you guys know from the building episode, the first building episode, is a Hexblade Warlock, which is a Xanathar's class, or Xanathar's subclass. So, with all that out of the way, the Bard, in general, anyone who's listened or watched for an extended period of time will know I have some very complicated feelings about the Bard. It's one portion jealousy and one portion being the GM who's annoyed. So the jealousy part, there have been a couple times where I wanted to play kind of the party face. I've wanted to have that experience because I like to roleplay. I like to do stuff like that. Anytime I feel like I'm making a face character, someone shows up with a bard and undercuts me. Not intentionally. Not on purpose. I'm not, like, accusing anyone I've ever played of trying to destroy my fun or anything like that, because in all those circumstances, we made our characters in a vacuum. But they come in with their high charisma bards, and they're just, like the center of attention. Because the bard class attracts players who want to be the center of attention. That's what the bard class is there for. This is your heavy roleplay, I want to speak to all the wenches and charm people and be persuasive and stuff like that. That's what the bard is there for. The bard also provides good support and is a good healer if no one wants to play a cleric. So there's always some aspect of, I hate that guy. Not the player, but, I hate that guy. I thought I was going to be Mr. Charismatic. My warlock's he's got an 18 charisma. He's pretty persuasive. I've got proficiency in deception and persuasion and stuff like that. I can charm the pants off of someone, and then some 20 charisma bard comes in and is just like, nope, my job. And then the other frustrating part is GMing a bard. It all depends on how you're playing the bard. And again, doing this is doing what your class is supposed to do. So I can't fault you too much, but it's really frustrating when you have a character who, with a roll of a dice, can change the course of what you had in mind depending on how well they roll in the given circumstances. Again, as the GM, you are not inclined to, like bend over and drop your pants for every single bard that rolls a 20. Because some things are just not going to be responsive to stuff like that. As funny as it may be for the bard to seduce the dragon, it's perfectly logical for you as the GM to say, look, you are putting on the greatest performance of your life. You could have just about any creature in the palm of your hands. They'd be like hot putty in your hands or whatever. This dragon just doesn't find you attractive. That's perfectly valid as the GM. You can be like, no. I know you rolled no. He finds it amusing. He's still going to barbecue you, though. Does it take away a little bit of player agency? I suppose. But there's always going to be some player agency sacrificed in order to keep your game from just completely derailing. Because if you give the players complete 150% agency, I can't overrule a single decision you make, you will find yourself in Crazy Town in a split second. So as the GM, you do have to set up some barriers and some guardrails. And, doing that with the bard is very important. But, the bard, and again, it's because of who this class attracts. The bard often ends up being typically the character who wants to score, the character who wants to, bed everyone they see and stuff like that, wants to be the center of attention, kind of the look at me player. That's who's going to end up being the bard. So if you have a look at me player who's very, very respectful of others, they like to have their time in the spotlight, but still they understand, it's not just me at this table. Other people need to get their stuff in and look cool and feel like, good characters. They'll do their look at me stuff and then step back. But if you have a new player or a player who struggles with letting other people kind of, step forward and get their shine as well, that's where, having a bard in the party can be very, very difficult. Because you've got a player who can, in some cases, quite literally charm the pants off of just about anything. And can do all kinds of, mind magic and stuff like that. Very high persuasion. Their class is by nature very jaunty and very drawn to carousing and stuff like that. So it can be difficult to kind of rein that in, but there are ways to do it. And if you have a player who's just out and out disruptive, that's a pull them aside and talk with them about it. It's not necessarily a problem with the character. Anyway, Bard is also a very popular class. I feel like, and I don't know this for certain, I feel like maybe something like Critical Role has something to do with this. I don't know if they have a Bard or not. But the Bard is the very memeable class. There's every D&D meme has something to do with a bard seducing something it ought not seduce. The bard is the center of a lot of the jokey meme D&D stories that people will find on Reddit or wherever they're looking. And so you could get players who see these bard memes and think that's hilarious, I want to do that, and come to your table and then kind of realize that maybe there was another side to that bard story that they didn't hear online, Luke Hart talks about. We talked about that for quite a bit when he was discussing on his last appearance the story about the necromancer raising an army of the undead. You hear that story from the necromancer's point of view about how they're like, I brought a whole legion of undead up from the ground, but you don't hear about the other players going, damn, how long is he going to take? Especially the fighter. A frontline melee fighter surrounded by spellcasters, you're going to feel like the redheaded stepchild at the table. I speak from experience. You're like, everyone's got all these complicated things they're trying to do, and I need to make sure this works. You've got your cleric and your bard and everyone looking at their spell books, being like, now if I do this, will this affect this and this and this? And as the fighter, you're just like, can I swing my sword, please? All I want to do. Take my 6 attacks. But yeah, the bard, suffice to say, the bard can be very disruptive. But the bard is also very fun to play. Because who doesn't like being kind of the rakish, audacious, charismatic, like roleplay heavy character? If you're super into roleplay, super into like giving your characters voices and personalities, that's what you're going to kind of be drawn to. And as someone who does that but also likes to play martial characters, the bard seems fun, but also seems like I'm sacrificing something that I really love in the game. With that said, there are 2 options for how to be a martial bard without dipping into another class. These options are the Valor Bard from the PHB, which we'll be talking about, and the Sword Bard from Xanathar's Guide to Everything. If you move too fast, the camera unfocuses, which sucks, but, So anyway, Xanathar's Guide to Everything, the Sword Bard. We will get back to the Sword Bard at some point, because I have a really cool idea for how to play a Sword Bard. But today we're going to focus on the Valor Bard. The main difference where these 2 things separate, the Valor Bard is still very much a support class mixed with melee. Your inspiration and magic and stuff like that is still largely focused on buffing your party, giving people inspiration, healing people, all that. The Sword Bard, you're giving your inspiration... You're largely giving your inspiration to yourself to do... They're called flourishes in the book. Sorry, my book fell over. Anyway, they're called flourishes in the book. They're basically like superiority dice from the Battlemaster fighter. So, the Valor Bard concept that I'll be playing with today and showing you guys, this is going to be a very Viking influenced character. The Vikings had this concept of a skald, who was a teller of heroic stories and a keeper of lore. In fact, if you read the flavor text for the Valor Bard in the PHB, it mentions the skald. So I'll go ahead and read this here for you. A dramatic reading from the player's handbook. Bards of the College of Valor are daring skalds whose tales keep alive the memory of the great heroes of the past and thereby inspire a new generation of heroes. These bards gather in mead halls or around great bonfires to sing the deeds of the mighty, both past and present. That's just a little piece of it. But basically, what you're dealing with here is, in fact, a Viking Skald. So, I am going to be building my character around the idea of a Skald. He's going to be a very Viking-influenced character. So, with that in mind, I'm going to move over to my screen share and we will begin the building process. I'm probably going to take him up to 10th level. And I'll also discuss kind of my philosophies for, starting new campaigns and why I think you should start at a higher level than first. So, without further ado, let's move on to the character creation with some fire. Now I'm over here. I love it. I'll never get over that. It's one of my favorite things about doing this stream, is my ability to teleport from the center of the screen to over here in a gout of flame. I know, I'm easily impressed. So, as you can see, I have already named my character. His name is going to be Halvar Askelson. Those are both actual, Norse names. So, Halvar Askelson. He is ultimately going to be a Valor Bard, and we'll take him up to 10th level. Race, I am going to go with human. Background we'll get to in a little bit. My name is, of course, Ryan Howard. Experience points don't do diddly. And alignment for the bard is going to be... I am going to be... trying to think of the best way to do this. Vikings are very, they're raiders. They, and it's hard to call a raider good. I don't think Vikings were inherently evil. And they're very, tradition bound. I'm going to call him lawful neutral. Because this is going to be a character who, unlike a lot of bards who are typically very chaotic, you see a lot of chaotic neutral and chaotic good amongst bards. And typically the ones who go chaotic neutral typically go chaotic stupid, which I think is a concept I've talked about a few times. Basically, that means because you're chaotic neutral, it's basically an excuse to do evil things without being necessarily evil for a lot of people, or to just be wacky and random. It's the same way that in the old days of Vampire the Masquerade, people would play Malkavians just to be, stupid. This is your, Deadpool or Harley Quinn type person who's just random and destructive to be random and destructive. So, let's mosey on back over here to the character sheet. So, we're going to, of course, kick this off at level 1. And what we're looking at for a bard, your highest score as a bard has to be your charisma. It's your spellcasting ability. You can probably get away with second highest score being charisma if you want to focus a little bit more on melee. But of course, what I'm going to do is the standard array. I feel like that's a little bit... It's weaker than doing point buy. I fully acknowledge that, but it's also... I don't know, it helps you... I feel like it balances things out more if you start with standard array. Point buy can get a little... Actually, more than a little cheesy. And, honestly, I prefer rolling stats. I prefer rolling and then assigning numbers where you need them to. I will at some point do a rolling stream, and I will at some point do a rolling in order stream. But for the time being, we are going to stick with the standard array. So, with that said, the 15 is going in charisma. And again, I will reiterate, I like the little box for the numbers and the big box for the modifiers because you're consulting the modifiers more often. And then typically with a bard, you put your points into dexterity. I am going to put them in strength as my next highest. Just because I'll be using strength weapons. The 13 is going to go in Constitution. The 12 is going to go in Dexterity. Ten is going to go in Wisdom, because you don't want negative perception. And Intelligence is going to get the 8, because Intelligence, unless you're a wizard, or unless you're... I think Clerics need it too, although Clerics are more Wisdom-based, but it's still good to have. Unless you are a certain kind of spellcaster, Intelligence is largely useless for you. More often than not, you're going to need to make either a con save or a wisdom save. There are very few intelligence saving throws unless you're going up against a mind flayer. And ultimately, intelligence just doesn't matter. Unless you're a certain kind of character, and my character is not that. And I don't believe that having a -1 to intelligence makes you illiterate. I feel like that's a little bit lower. But still, bards aren't known for being, like, super smart, I don't think. So, just as a reminder, the variant human. Let's go back to the front of the player's handbook here. Where's my damn human? Half elf, half orc. I think human's actually at the front. Yep, there we go. So, variant human. To start, you get 2 different ability scores, upped by 1, proficiency with 1 skill of your choice, and 1 feat. So, what we're going to do here is up Charisma to 16. We can't raise Dexterity, or we can't raise Strength or Dexterity anymore to make them have a different number, so I'm going to forego those for now and take the other bump to Constitution, just to up my hit points. And then for skills, what I'm going to take here is actually going to be... I'm going to take Perception. That's always good to have. And then my feat, to begin, I'm actually going to start, because this is vitally important to the Valor Bard, I am going to start with Warcaster. So let me get to the feats section, and I will remind everyone what Warcaster does. I can never remember where the feats are. Here we go. So, Warcaster. You have advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain your concentration. Very important for bards. A lot of bard spells are concentration-based. You can perform somatic components of the spell even when you have a weapon or shield in one or both hands. And when a hostile creature's movement provokes an opportunity attack from you, you can use your reaction to cast a spell at the creature rather than making an opportunity attack. And the spell has to have a casting time of 1 action. So, I'm going to start off feats. Actually going to drop feats down a little bit. Warcaster. All right, now on to Bard stuff. Because this is where things get very important. I'm basically going to skip over like first and second level here and just kind of start the character at third. And again, I feel like you should always start campaigns. If it's your first ever campaign, either as a player or as the GM, at that point, you know, it's cool to start off at first level. But first and second level are so, like, weak sauce for pretty much every class, and so kind of boring, and so easy to get killed in, that, for example, you don't get your subclass for most classes until you hit third level. The only exceptions are warlocks and clerics, I believe. They get their cool stuff at first level, or some of their cool stuff at first level. Everyone else, you don't get to pick what you are until like third level. You're basically like for bards here. I can't use a lot of the stuff that I'm looking at using until third level, because you don't, with the Warcaster, just as a preview, or sorry, the Valor Bard, you don't get proficiency with medium armor, shields, or martial weapons until third level. So to start off, I'd be wearing like leather armor, and I'd have to carry, as far as like weapons that you can use, you are proficient with simple weapons, long swords, rapiers, short swords, and hand crossbows. So I could carry a long sword, just because I have a high strength. It wouldn't be that difficult to start with a long sword. But because I'm a Viking, I want to have an axe. So, and because this is my hill and these are my beans, I am going to basically start this off at third level. So, creating a bard, we kind of have to start at first level just as far as hit points and stuff like that. So starting off, you're going to have, where's my hit dice? Hit dice down here. 3d8. D8 hit dice. My maximum start off is 8 plus your con modifier. So for us at this point, let's see, there are no ability score improvements just yet, so +2, +1, +2, -1, 0, and +3. As a bard, my saves are charisma and dexterity. Proficiency bonus at third level is still +2, so we'll begin there. Actually, since I'm going all the way up to 10th level, I will start at plus. I'll just do +4. And at first level, you'd be looking at 8 plus con modifier, so that's 10 to start with. That's the thing about being kind of a frontline bard early on. You still just have like 10 hit points. So it's difficult. Or shall we say, it's tricky. Because now that song's stuck in my head. And now it's stuck in your head. You're welcome. So, with each level, you add 5 plus your con modifier after first. So, second, you'd be looking at another 7. And then from there, you'd be looking at I believe you go up to 24 from there. Yes. Hot diggity damn. I did math in my head. This is quite a feat for me, actually. I was always terrible at math, just because I didn't want to do it. Oh, hey, Carl. What's up? Welcome. We're building a bard. A Valor Bard. But anyway, I was always terrible at math in school because I hated it. I didn't think it was fun. It had no, like, application for me that I could see. It's not for a game, it's just for fun. Basically, I'm just building, like, a Viking Bard so that in the event that I get to play in another game, or... Actually, it wouldn't work for the martial arts game that I'm in if Hong Su dies. I'd have to think of something like that. But if I ever get to play another, like, 5e game, I'm going to break out this Viking Bard. So... assuming someone doesn't undercut me again and take the bard spot. Sorry. I'm calm. And before we get too terribly far down the road, I actually want to say something about being a party face / tank. You can do it with a bard, but if your goal is to be like a full tank and like a full-on party face who can, you know, heal people and stuff like that, you're honestly better off being a paladin. But if you like kind of the flavor of being a bard, like in this case, I want to be like a Viking Skald. Bard is still perfectly viable, but if you want like the most optimum, I can heal people and I can wreck face, paladin. And someday I'll build a paladin on here, because paladin is something I'm also super interested in. And I know that Elfie is also very interested in paladins. She's very invested in rogues, but paladins are also... she's expressed interest in playing a paladin before, so... going over that on here I feel like would be good for me, because I like paladins. I've seen them be very powerful. The Mythic Game Mater emulator? I've not heard of that. Oh, gotcha. All good. I'm still not overly familiar with that. Is that something for like a... is that something that you could do with like Divinity Original Sin or something like that, where you take like a CRPG and you can basically Dungeon Master or one of those? Is that... am I completely off base there? Because I know... I think Divinity has like a full-on Game Master mode where you can do that. I'm pretty sure Baldur's Gate 3 has one too, but that game is not complete yet, and I won't be buying it and playing it until it's done. And what I think I'm going to do at some point, I'm still kind of kicking this around in my head because I want this to primarily be an RPG stream. I don't necessarily want to branch out into games, but I might someday do a full like playthrough on Danishes and Dragons if I get bored of doing character creation or something like that. I might do a full-on Baldur's Gate, starting at Baldur's Gate 1 stream. I've never played Baldur's Gate. I feel like it would be fun to experience with you guys. But that's something I'm still kind of kicking around. If you're interested in that, maybe I'll put a poll up to see if you guys are interested in seeing me stream Baldur's Gate. I don't want this to become like a video game stream, but... okay, cool. I gotcha. So instead of having a player be the dungeon master, it basically is a dungeon master, like, in a computer. I gotcha, Carl. I see where you're going with that. I like that. Yes, one of these days I will kind of begin like a Baldur's Gate stream. Again, I've got friends who are video game streamers. I don't want to steal their thunder. And I don't want to become a full-time video game streamer myself unless it turns out people are just way more interested in me as a video game streamer than me as a, like, RPG streamer. In that case, I might consider it, but for the most part, I want this to be tabletop focused. But doing Baldur's Gate, which is a straight-up D&D computer game, seems like fun to me. So, yeah, I'll consider that. Maybe not next week, but maybe in the coming weeks. I'll take a look at the possibility of streaming Baldur's Gate and setting up video and audio capture for this stream, which I know how to do, but it's not difficult. It's just a matter of, how much fun people would have seeing that. And it sounds like you guys are interested in it, so I'll give it a whirl. Alrighty. So, continuing with this particular build here, we should go to the skills that we're going to start with. Oh, and I need to pick my instruments. So, instruments. Bard instruments. I want to go lute. I want to go lyre. And then I want to do some kind of wind instrument as well. Or actually what I'm going to do here is look up... see if there's any, like, special Viking Age instruments that I'm missing out on here. Doesn't look like there's anything too terribly special, so I will go... no, not pan flute. Just flute. Lute, flute, and lyre. I don't want to be a drum bard. And if I went bagpipes, then I would have to go for a Highland bard. Okay, I'm actually super interested in this thing you're talking about here, Carl. In fact, it might be worthwhile sometime to try to do that as a stream, along with, like, the Baldur's Gate stream. That could be fun to do, like, as a one shot. I'm gonna see if I can get that together at some point. Maybe for, like, a special presentation. Maybe even do it on, like, a special night. Because getting people up to do this... Okay, it's on drive-thru. Gotcha. Because getting people up in the morning to do something like this is difficult, I've found. People like their sleep, I suppose. So, yeah, doing this would be kind of difficult. Doing it in this time slot. I could do, like, a Friday night stream. But yeah, Carl, thanks for pointing that out. I definitely need to look into that. So, those are my instruments. I'll go ahead. Armor. Light. Medium. Shields. Weapons. Simple, and martial. So, oh, and languages. I believe as a human you get common. I spelled common wrong. I think. I'm also not a very good speller. I've come to rely on the squiggly line. So, let's get past the building Brunar. Get to humans, as they are known to the Ferengi. Humans. Okay, so you get one extra language. So I always like, for flavor, to take Elvish. Actually, what I'm going to do is take Orcish, because I like the idea of Vikings fighting orcs. It's something that appeals to me. If anyone can recommend any good books about Vikings fighting orcs, I will definitely read them. And yes, I have read The Lord of the Rings, so there are no Vikings in Lord of the Rings, at least as far as I know. I've never interpreted any of the races of men in Lord of the Rings as being Vikings, unlike Ralph Bakshi, who for some reason decided that Boromir was a Viking. Despite being of the same people as Aragorn, he was a Viking. I don't know. I've given up trying to understand that movie. That is the animated Lord of the Rings, for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about. It's bazonkers. And you need to see it once, I'll say. If you like Lord of the Rings, you need to see it once. Because, like I said, it's bonkers. Totally nuts. And from there, we get any 3 skills. So typically, with classes, you have like a list of skills to choose from. Bards get to choose from any 3. So, what I'm going to take will be performance. You must take performance. Persuasion. And intimidation, because I'm a Viking. Ooh, and Carl has dropped another example in here. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. So basically, for anyone who can't see chat, Carl is saying that on the Mythic Dungeon Master or Game Master emulator, he's exploring a dungeon and he finds a door leading onward, and he asks the GM, the virtual GM, is there a monster in the next room? And it's a 50-50 chance whether or not there is. And basically, you roll a D100 to determine. Like 50 or lower is yes, and 51 or above is no. And so, yeah, if in the example, like, he rolls a 23, so there's a monster in the next room. I get it. Sounds cool. Definitely give that a try. So, there we go. And now my background. My temptation here is to take Soldier. I might take Sailor. They recommend that you take Entertainer, but again, I feel like this guy is more of a like a soldier first and a kind of bard second. So Let's see, do I want to be a soldier or sailor? I'm actually going to say soldier, and that will give me athletics. And that gives me intimidation, so I get to pick one more, which I will take deception at that point. So those are my skill proficiencies for the time being. Okay, so Carl recommends sailor. Honestly, sailor's probably better, which that gives me athletics and perception. So I can still have intimidation as my second one. So athletics, perception, but I can still take deception since I'm not taking perception early. Got it. So yeah. Background, sailor. And that gives me water, vehicles, and navigator's tools. Okay, cool. So, and you could probably use the variant sailor pirate. That gives you a bad reputation. That's an added feature. But I'm actually going to forego that. Oh, we have someone in chat. Hello there, Dr. Trophonius. With a name like Trophonius, I have to ask you, did you get your doctorate from the Emperor's College? Because you sound like a 40k character. So is your doctorate in being a Space Marine? Whether or not it is, welcome. We are glad to have you. So, moving swiftly along. Oh, a Tintin reference. I am only vaguely familiar with Tintin in that I know what it is. I've read like 2 of the comics. And I am aware of the movie. I've not seen the movie, but I know about it. So, I probably should get more... Gotcha. That makes sense. Not being Dutch myself, I did not know that, but I appreciate the clarification. The only Dutch I know of is the one who always has a plan. Only he doesn't actually have a plan. So, from there, I believe that covers everything. So to begin, I'm of course going to have a battle axe because I am a Viking. The armor that I'm going to start with. Gotcha. Cool. Well, regardless of your national origin, Doctor, I am glad that you were here. I did not mean to imply that you were Dutch. I don't know if there's any bad blood there between the Dutch and the Belgians. So, if I offended you, I am sorry. Because I am from North Carolina. And if you accused me of being from South Carolina, we would have words. Cool. So, like I said, I have a battle axe, and my armor I am going to have, it's going to be like a round shield, like Vikings typically had in the depictions of them. Again, I don't remember historically if they actually had round shields. I believe they did. I could be mistaken. I'm not a real historian. I just pretend to be one sometimes. Mostly when I watch movies. Gotcha. Gotcha. So it's a bit of a Eurovision rivalry. I love it. I love soft rivalries like that. Stuff like that's actually really funny. It's the same thing here in the U.S. with certain states. There are some like hard rivalries, like North and South Carolina, North Carolina, New York, Tennessee and California, Tennessee and Michigan, Michigan and Ohio. But then, like stuff like Tennessee and North Carolina, I feel like is a very soft rivalry as well. We don't have Eurovision to kind of pull that together. Mostly that plays out in like college football and occasionally professional football. And in the Carolinas, college basketball. And then there are like hard rivalries between certain cities in certain states. Like every single city in Tennessee and Nashville. That is a very hard rivalry. So I'm learning all kinds of things about the Netherlands and Belgium. I love it. Very appropriate for this episode, as we are talking about the Vikings, and some of the Vikings did in fact come from what is now the Netherlands, which some people tend to forget. So, armor. I'm going to end up having, what's it called? Medium armor. So we'll stick them in scale mail. Shield. Battle axe. And thank you for passing on that supplement, Carl. I'm actually super interested in checking that out. So, a shield adds 2 to your AC. And the scale mail is 14 plus dex modifier with a maximum of +2. So that would be 15 for a total of 17. So my AC is 17. Attack bonus with the axe right now is going to be... We'll calculate that once we get up to level 10. Probably do the same thing with AC as well. I'll leave that blank for now. Since I will be taking this thing all the way up to level 10, which includes a couple of increases. So, as far as Bard features, this is where I'm going to put my overall Bard features. So at first level, we're looking at Bardic Inspiration, which is different from Bardic Perspiration. It goes up to a D10 at 10th level, and so we'll end up having the same number as my Charisma modifier, so I will calculate that once I finish my stats. Yes, yeah, I'm doing a strength-based Valor Bard here. Largely so that he can be like a axe and shield Viking. And because I feel like using a rapier is overdone for bards. I understand why, because it's dex-based, but I'm going to basically switch out dex for strength. Dex isn't a dump stat because it's not one that you should be dumping because, you know, initiative, but it also saves. But yeah, I'm going strength over dex. After Bardic Inspiration, we get Jack of all trades at 2nd level. And this lets you add half your proficiency bonus, rounded down to any ability check you make. That doesn't already include your bonus. Yeah, kind of a Barbarian. I'm not going to take a full-on dip into Barbarian, although you could definitely do that with this class to make like a Berserker Bard, but yeah, it kind of does end up being a Barbarian of sorts. So yeah, the idea is to be kind of a frontline fighter as well as a caster. So there's that. But I'm not going Sword Bard because I'm doing that later, and I have a completely different idea for Sword Bard. You also get Song of Rest, which is important. Now I'm just being a grammar Nazi here. What's next? I'm going to do this real quick. College Valor. And let's see if there's anything else that I get here. Expertise. We'll get to that in a little bit. Font of Inspiration. Counter Charm, which is very important. Excuse me. And at level 10, we'll have our first magical secrets. We can get rid of one of those spaces. Go down here. And with the College of Valor, going all the way up to 10th, we'll have Combat, Inspiration, and Extra Attack. I'm glad you agree with me on that, Carl. You do need to have the correct... When it comes to the naming of these things, which do, like, they're presented as having proper names in the context of the book, it is good to, like, properly capitalize. In fact, Jack of all trades in the book is capitalized, even though it's a common kind of like filler word or descriptive word. It's capitalized in the book, so I'm going to capitalize it there. All right, so I am going to take a quick break. I'll be right back in just a little bit, and we will continue our build here of the Viking Valor Bard. Oh, does it say Badrick Inspiration? Yes, it does. Carl, what would I do without you? If it weren't for Carl and Elfie, I would just not be able to do this. I appreciate you guys a lot. Thank you. So, like I said, we're going to take a quick break, and I will be right back here in just a few minutes. And we are back. I am back from my break now. So, let's take a little bit of a look here at some of the stuff that we get from these things that I just typed down. So, switch over here. And we will take a look. Oh, I missed a couple things. Actually, I think I just missed one thing. Ritual casting. What ritual casting lets you do is you can cast any bard spell that you know as a ritual. So, Bardic Inspiration, that'll be determined once we get our Charisma modifier. Jack of all trades. This lets us add, like I said, our half of our proficiency bonus, which at 10th level will be +2 to anything that we're not already proficient in. Bardic Inspiration, you pass out to your players. There's an improvement to that for being a Valor Bard. Basically, players are allowed to now use that on damage rolls, too. So, let's see. Expertise. That doubles your proficiency bonus for 2 particular skills that you have, and then at 10th level you get to pick 2 other skills. So we will do those here in just a little bit once I actually add numbers to these. I just need to remember expertise times 2. I can probably do a small X. There we go. Because it's not X-Men 2, X-Men United, it is times 2. Font of Inspiration, basically, you regain all of your expended uses of Bardic Inspiration when you finish a short or long rest before 5th level. The way that works is, I believe it's per day. Oh no, it's per long rest for before 5th level. This just lets you get it back on a short rest, which is good. And then from there, Counter Charm at 6th level. You can basically use music notes or words of power to disrupt mind-influencing effects. As an action, you start a performance that lasts until the end of your next turn. And during that time, you and any friendly creature within 30 feet of you have advantage on saving throws against being frightened or charmed. A creature must be able to hear you to gain the benefits. The performance ends early if you are incapacitated or silenced, or if you voluntarily end it. Yeah, so basically, if you come up against a dragon, you can start singing. And hopefully that will keep the dragon from using its frightful presence to make your frontline fighters completely useless. And then Magical Secrets at 10th level basically lets you pick 2 spells from any class's list. It has to be of a level that you can cast, and it counts as a bard spell for you. So basically, you use your charisma modifier. It's a great way for bards to learn Fireball. You get it again at 14th level and 18th level. So, College of Valor stuff. We already talked about the bonus proficiencies. I've already applied those. From there, Combat Inspiration. Basically, you can players can add their your inspiration dice to their damage, as well as their attacks. And saving throws. And when a creature is attacked, if they have inspiration that they haven't used, they can use their reaction to add the inspiration dice to their AC. But you have to know before if it hits or misses, whether or not. So, when the DM says, that's a 20, and you have like an 18 AC, at that point you can roll the Bardic Inspiration dice. I'm talking too fast for my own good. At that point, you roll the Bardic Inspiration dice, and you can add that to your AC. It's a good little thing. It does take your reaction. So if you are a Battlemaster fighter with parry, you won't be able to parry. Or make opportunity attacks if someone's trying to run past you. So there is some cost to it, but it's still a cool thing to have. And then extra attack, it's the same thing as extra attack for a ranger or a fighter. You can attack twice when you take the attack action. So, I believe that is everything as far as Bard stuff. Let's take a look at ability score increases we get along the way. So that is 4th level and 8th level. For the time being, I'm not going to take any additional feats, at least not right now. So, with the first one, I am going to up my Charisma to an 18. Excuse me. And with the second one, I think I'm going to go 16 with strength. Yeah. Because those are going to be my 2 primary stats. So, 24 hit points at 3rd level. So I add 7 for each level after that. So, let's see. Doing a little bit of math here on my calculator. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 more levels. So 7 times 7 is 49, plus 24, puts me at a whopping 73 hit points. My AC will be 17 still. Attack bonus is going to be plus 7. Not counting on picking up any kind of magical weapons at this point. When you're at 10th level, you probably have like a +1 or +2 weapon. Just depending on how your DM wants to play it. But at this point, I'm going to assume that I don't have one. And then let's give him a ranged option as well. In keeping with the theme of Vikings, I think I'm going to give him a longbow. Actually, I am going to give him... What do you guys think? Longbow or heavy crossbow? Heavy crossbow does more damage. Longbow is a little bit more thematic. Elfie says longbow. Yeah, let's go longbow. So that's going to be a +5. No. There, +5. And then damage for the battle axe is, I believe it'll be a D8 since I'm using one hand. It's a versatile weapon. Just need to get to the equipment. I was just there. Yep, here we are. Born to be kings. So yes, this is 1 D8 plus 1. And this is 1 D8 plus 3. Yeah, consensus is longbow, so we're going to stick with a longbow. And then he's probably got like a... I'm going to give him 50 arrows. Tracking ammunition, you need to keep track of it, but it's not that precious a resource. Arrows are pretty cheap, so, you know, it doesn't end up becoming a big deal. A lot of times I just kind of let it go, but it's really not, it's not a big deal unless you're in, like, a super long battle. Cool, cool. Yep. There we go. So, now we need to calculate our scores here. Let's see. +3, +5, +2. Okay. Now, dexterity. Remember, half our proficiency bonus goes into every single skill. So, +3, +2. This is part of why bards are so stupid broken. Because I've got a 0 in wisdom, but my insight is going to end up being +2. My persuasion, because I'm proficient in it, or sorry, my perception, because I'm proficient in it, is going to end up being, it's still +4. Never mind, because I'm proficient in it. Forget I said anything. +8. But like all of these intelligence things, I've got a +1 to all of these rolls, even though I have a -1 intelligence. That's why you can use intelligence as a dump stat as a bard. You don't need it. Because you still end up having pluses to all of these skills. The only thing it matters for is saving throws, and that comes into play not very often. +8 +8 All right, yeah. Now for expertise, we get 4 skills at this level that we have expertise in. And what that means is we just add another 4 to them. So persuasion is now going to be a plus 12. God help us. Let's see. Intimidation, I'm also going to give a plus 12 to, because, again, I'm a big burly Viking. And let's see, we get 2 more. I guess I should take it in performance. And then I'm going to take it in... Part of me wants to take it in athletics. No, I'm going to take it in deception. There we go. Yeah, so basically I can persuade you of anything, almost, at this point. Real cult of personality there. CM Punk. CM Punk. Initiative is going to be plus 1. Speed... 30 feet. Okay. We won't worry about passive wisdom or actually, let's go ahead. Passive wisdom is a difficult one, so just to remind everyone of what it is in 5e. So, your passive check is 10 plus all modifiers that would normally apply to the check. So, for being proficient in perception, my passive wisdom is going to end up being 14. Because it's assuming that you rolled a 10, is how that works. So, passive wisdom is 14. Now, the last thing to discuss with the Bard is spells. So let us find those spells. Over here. We'll skip over this for now because it doesn't matter. Spellcasting class is Bard. Your ability is Charisma, Cha. Spell saving DC is 8 plus proficiency plus Charisma modifier. So that's 8 plus 8. So your DC is pretty high at this point, 16. And your attack bonus is going to be plus 8. So at 10th level, you know 4 cantrips. So we'll start there. Now for Bard cantrips, it's always good to have Prestidigitation. That's always going to end up being... Prestidigitation. Give me just 1 second to open something else. Sorry. And let's go up here. I'm looking at RPG Bot. which is it's got breakdowns for multiple different classes and stuff, but it basically just gives you a basic breakdown of what each spell on your list does, and it gives you an evaluation of, what works best for specific classes. It's a good resource for anyone who's looking for builds. I've taken from RPG Bot for all of these build episodes that I've done. It's not like hard and fast. You can definitely do without some of the spells that it mentions. You're not going to be able to take all of the blue highlighted spells, which are like the best spells. But it does a good job of explaining what each spell does in the context of your class and how each spell would benefit you. So I'm just looking to see if there are any good magical secrets. I know, this is riveting. Cool. So, now that we have that out of the way, spells. So yeah, prestidigitation is basically like small magical stuff. Creating smells, creating lights, little stuff. It's good for roleplay. In general, it's a good spell to have. The next one we're going to take here... One second. Yeah, the next one we're going to take here is Vicious Mockery. Which is basically, for anyone who's not familiar, you basically burn someone so much that they have to make a save or take psychic damage. And then from there, we get two other cantrips. It might be worthwhile to take like Green Flame Blade. But again, I'm kind of just wanting to go pure PHB here. So what I'll do is, let's see. Mage Hand is always useful to have, just on, for carrying things, so I'll give him Mage Hand. And last, let's see. Message is always pretty good to have, again, for role-playing situations, or if you get separated somehow. Those are your good spells. It's probably not worth taking a Magical Secrets on a cantrip. Just in my humble opinion. So. At 10th level, as far as first level spell slots, we have... So we know a total of 14 spells, so this will be fun. We have 4 first level. 4. I believe we have 3 second level, 3 third level, yep, 3 fourth level. Hey, Loopy, what's up? And 2 fifth level. We are making a Battle Bard, like Viking Skald today. So that's what you've missed so far, is just me setting things up. We've also talked about donuts. Now, as far as these spells go, we'll be looking at... For first level, let's see. Healing Word is always good to have. You need a healing spell. Tasha's Hideous Laughter is also pretty necessary. Basically, these are often called save or suck spells, which basically means the target has to save or they basically can't do anything. Let's see. At 10th level, we don't really need heroism anymore, since everyone's got higher hit points. As a utility spell, you should probably take Detect Magic. Always good to have. And we've got 14 spells, so we'll be filling a lot of these here. Plus Magical Secrets. Which actually, I don't believe those stack. You have to pick those. So, Loopy, you like raspberry filled with powdered sugar. Those are pretty good. The donuts that we were talking about today was Elfie actually makes donuts, and she made some sour cream, just regular plain donuts with chocolate frosting on them, and they are delicious. And yes, Magical Secrets is a feature that bards get, which lets them take 2 spells per certain level from any spell list. So it gives you just a little bit more utility. So let's see. We'll take Featherfall as well. Just... Fall, and then... Fairy Fire. If I need to take anything else, we can get into that later. Second level spells. Heat Metal can be fun with enemies with armor. It kind of depends on what you've been encountering in your campaign. Silence is also stupid broken, so we'll take Heat Metal and Silence. And let's see. I would go invisibility, but I'm like a frontline bard, so yeah, that's that could end up being not as effective for me. And let's see what else we can do here. I'll move on to third level here, just to see what else we could do. So third level, what you want to do as kind of the utility player is have tongues, so you can talk to just about anything. Let's see. Bestow Curse is also good. Bestow Curse is good against, like, anything with a low wisdom. Basically, if you look at the text for Bestow Curse, what you'd be looking at here is, let's get to it. You can give someone disadvantage on one ability check and saving throw. You can give them disadvantage on attack rolls against you. While cursed, the target must make a wisdom saving throw at the start of each turn, or it wastes its action. Or you can deal an extra 1d8 necrotic damage with your attacks and spells during the duration. Loopy, if those are song lyrics, I don't know that song. And let's see, what else can we do here? You could do Enemies Abound. That's a decent, like, spell that, you know, does cool things. Hypnotic Pattern is also a save or suck spell like Tasha's, but it's multiple targets. I think it's worth taking that one. So we'll do Hypnotic Pattern, especially if I'm going to be frontline. Let's look at some 4th level spells here. Dimension Door is always good to have. Dimension Door. Greater Invisibility. And let's see what else. At 4th level, you can take Polymorph. I don't know if I want to be that kind of bard, though. So let's see. At 5th level, we'll take definitely Greater Restoration. Basically, that means you don't have to go to a cleric every time someone gets cursed. It's great. It's extremely helpful. And then I'm pulling out Xanathar's Guide, because there's another 5th level spell which is awesome, called Skill Empowerment, which essentially grants... your magic deepens a creature's understanding of its own talent. You touch one willing creature and give it expertise in one skill of your choice until the spell ends. So yeah, that can be helpful, definitely in certain situations. So again, that spell is skill empowerment. It is a Xanathar's Guide spell, though, so if you are going pure PHB, I'm not going to have an axe bass guitar because I don't watch Adventure Time. An axe lute would be cool, but I'm not going to do an axe bass guitar, unfortunately. Sorry to disappoint anyone. Now, real quick, so let's see. This gives us, in total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so that's 14 right there. We need to take 2 from Magical Secrets, so we'll need to get rid of 2. So I think what I'm going to get rid of is Fairy Fire, and I'll get rid of Skill Empowerment for the time being. And we're going to look at some options for Valor Bard. So, one recommendation that people give for melee bards, I am using an axe. So I will have an axe as my weapon. It just will not double as a bass guitar. See, Destructive Wave is going to end up being one of the ones that we take. So let's see. I don't remember what level that one is. E before I in the alphabet. It is a 5th level evocation. And basically, every creature within 30 feet has to succeed on a Constitution saving throw or take 5d6 Thunder and Radiant, or Necrotic, depending on your flavor. And then they'll be knocked prone. So yeah, basically, if you're going up against a horde and you are a melee bard, you can deal a bunch of damage, even if they pass, because it's saved for half. And there's a good chance that you can knock something over, which is always good. You always want to knock things over. Yes, I am a broken bard. And so there's a couple other spells you could take. Animate Objects is stupid broken. Spirit Guardians is good, but there's tons of concentration spells that you'll have. I think what I'm actually going to do is take Counterspell, because someone needs to have Counterspell. Yes, your bard instrument can in fact be a cowbell. I would allow that at my table. I've never seen anyone do it. I'm sure someone has, though. if you if you end up casting Greater Restoration on someone with your cowbell, then they have a fever, and the only prescription is in fact more cowbell. So there you go. There's the joke. There's the low-hanging fruit that I was reaching for. Yeah, Counterspell. Counterspell is a 3rd level. If no one else in your party has Counterspell, someone needs it. So, Counterspell. There we go. All right, and that's pretty much everything as far as this character goes. I could fill in some of this stuff, but again, I'll probably just save this for... I'll probably fill that stuff in when if I get to use this character. So I'll leave that out for now. But Halvar Askelson, the Valor Bard, the Skald, is complete. Now, for the very end here, as we wrap up, what I'm going to do is actually switch over to Hero Forge and show you guys kind of a visual representation of what this guy could be. So let me open the character here, and we'll mess around a little bit with some of the options that I have here, because I built this thing a while ago. All right, so let's flip over. Here we are, Hero Forge. Now, one thing you'll immediately notice is that there's a lot of different... close that out. Yes, you can counterspell the darkness with cowbell. There's a couple differences here that will need to be resolved. Because I made this character a while back before... No, not you. Okay. Before I did this build, I made this character. So my original idea was to have him be a dual wielder. I do that too much, though. So... let's make sure that in his left hand, we give him a nice round shield. Let's see if they have a good, Viking shield here. That's the wrong hand. Just trying to find the best looking Viking shield. We could do the kite shield... or we could do the lenticular shield. Or I guess up here, that's probably a little bit... no, I prefer... honestly, I prefer the lenticular shield. And yes, it's clipping through his arm. We'll fix that. Axes, let's see. What would be best? What's the best looking axe? Dead axe. What is it? There we go. I think that's the best looking axe. And on his back, should we put the longbow on his back or the lute? I'm going to leave the lute on his back unless someone tells me different. Oh, you can stick flames on things now. I love that. I love it, I love it, I love it. You can stick spell effects on your weapons, which is cool. All right, so let's see. Let's go to his pose. Everything here's pretty good as far as the pose is concerned. Let's see. Some of these things are just like overlapping on him. I'm going to take the loot off of his back. He doesn't need anything on his back. Because that just makes things a little bit more complicated. Pose. Let's see. That's pretty dynamic, and that is heroic. So this is Hero Forge. This is for making custom miniatures. And basically, I'm showing you guys like a visualization of what kind of miniature I would make. I've used this website a few times. There's lots of great features on it now. They've got tons of options. And now you can even like color your miniatures. Let's see. As far as just pure dynamism, I like this a lot. So now let's go into the advanced pose editor and make this thing look a lot better. So first and foremost, these pauldrons are too high. So we're going to lower it a little bit. There's a little bit of clipping, so move it up just a bit more. There we go. Now it's sitting flush. Yeah, even if you don't order the miniatures, Hero Forge is great just to give you a visualization of your character. The problem is, as soon as you get that visualization, you're going to want to get the miniature. At least if your name is Ryan and you're obsessed with miniatures. And honestly, their miniatures are great quality. I've gotten a few from them, and I like them a lot. They're pretty good. We can move this up a little bit more. We should probably tilt this. There we go. That'll let us move it down a little bit more without so much clipping. There we go. That's good on the pauldrons. Now, watch me completely ruin all that work I did on the pauldrons by moving his arm. Okay, you want to hold it straight. We're going to bend the elbow a little bit. That's good where it is. Clavicle's good. I really just want to drop the shield a little bit more so it covers more of his body. Okay. All right, I can do that. I can do that, Marty. I can send that over. Bend, bend, bend. We good, we good. Yep, there we go. That's pretty good as far as the shield is concerned. A little tight to the body. Basically the way he's looking. I'm actually going to move it over a little bit so it's more in line with like where he's... Yeah, like right there. Right there. So it covers most of his body, and then we can tilt that up a little bit more. Actually, I should probably do that down here. There we go. So yeah, that means the shield can block off a little bit more of his body. Looks a little bit more like an actual defensive pose. Let's see. If I adjust his posture, is it going to completely destroy everything that we've done here? I think that's under measurements. Posture. There we go. It's important to have good posture. All right, now we go back to the advanced pose. I just want to make it look a little bit more like he's getting ready to, swing that axe. Swing that axe. Let's see, if I twist it... That's probably good. You can drop that down a little bit more. There we go. There we go. And if I move his hand around at all... No, we brought it forward. Yep, swing that axe. Womp that axe. That song, Womp There It Is, for the longest time, I assumed that the lyrics were Womp That Ass, not Womp There It Is. Shows how much I know. And honestly, Womp That Ass doesn't make a lot of sense, but almost sounds better, in a way. So yeah, there he is. And from there, if I put something on his back, is it completely going to screw it up? If I throw on... the loot. No, it's not going to completely screw it up. I will then go into advanced pose and probably mess around with where the loot is. All you can do is twist. You can't bring it up or down. I could twist it all the way around, but that doesn't make any sense. Right about there's probably good. Yep, and here he is. And just for a little bit of added fun, I can go ahead and add some color to him. We got all kinds of options here. Some of them are weird. Like here, I like the paleness. I don't want to make him a redhead, though. Again, no offense, Loopy. So what we're going to do is just kind of change this up a little bit. Go into hair. I want to make him like... I want to make him blonde. There we go. And then his eyes... Let's make his eyes gray. Okay. Now we can do a little bit of some of the stuff on him. We're gonna do this leather headband that he's got around his head. I I like how granular you can get with this thing, but with some of these it's just super irritating. Like, I just want the headband to be one color. Just let me make the headband one color, please. And I will do the same thing back here for his band. Pretty much going to use this as the leather color, so we'll make his belt that color. We'll do his boots that color. Again, this is where some of the granularity gets irritating, because you have to select like all of these different parts. It's cool for some people, and for some builds. As a painter, I appreciate the extent of control that you can give to this, but it's also more than a little bit irritating at times. We'll do his gauntlets that color as well. Okay. Let's do some of the metals here. So the axe is going to be iron. The shield. Actually, I'm going to do the shield. It doesn't have like a wood color, but a Viking shield is made of wood. What I'll go ahead and do is put the iron on here and on here. There we go. Trousers. Let's go into some cloth here and do these trousers. Trousers are just going to be beige. Sorry. You can barely see them, so it doesn't really matter. Let's go back to the metals real quick, because I forgot a couple things. We're going to do... brass for the belt buckle. Yeah, you can even like make a person look metal in this. They can have a metal beard. I forgot to do the there we go, just putting some wood on there. We'll do the loot separately. But now let's go back to metal and do these pauldrons here. So let's see. I do like these more weathered metals, so I'm actually going to switch some of this stuff over. They'll look a little bit better. Okay. Now, the Gambison. Or actually, these hand wraps we'll need to do something with. So let's see. I want kind of an off-white for them. Actually, this is leather. These will go kind of an off-white for. This looks like some kind of patterned leather, so we'll go to leather. We'll do something dark there and something a little bit lighter here, here, here. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now this Gambison. Let's go over this cloth color. I like the idea of him having kind of a green Gambison. So for the undershirt, oh, we should do this fur here because he's got the gloves with the fur, and the whole club is looking at her. Let's see. We'll do like a cream color. Yes, the Gambison. I'm actually going to do like a kind of goldish trim. Because I think that's very fancy. Yes, yes. I made a Flow Rida joke because that's very... Flow Rida was everywhere. I remember when that song was just inescapably popular. But no, I completely forgot the... I completely missed the reference on if your boyfriend says he's got a beef, then I'm a vegetarian. Yeah. I did miss that, so apologies. I'm not going to do the weird, like, checked thing with him because he's a bard, but he's not going to be super flamboyant necessarily. And let's see, what can I do as this under tunic? There we go. Well, that matches his, Let's see if there's a different... There we go. Nice little off-white there. All right, and then last but not least, we're going to do this instrument. We're going to do some... Let's see. That works for the strings. And I think I've covered everything. Yes, yes I have. Oh, 1 second. Gonna pose here. And I need to raise it up just a bit. There's still some clipping here. Looks like that can't really be avoided unless I push it forward just a little bit. And then I think if I drop it down. There. And then this will just be leather colored. Leather. There we go. This is our guy. This is Halvar Askelson. And yeah, this is a pro feature to have the pictures that you take. So I'd have to subscribe. Basically, it lets you turn them into a token, that kind of thing. But there is a way to just take a screenshot. I think I can actually do it over OBS. I will take a screenshot here in just a little bit. But guys, that is going to do it for today's stream. We've gone almost 3 hours, which is cool. But yeah, that is going to do it for today. Thank you so much for dropping in. I guess here at the bottom, as I'm closing out, we can go ahead and discuss some of the stuff that's coming up. So on Monday, we're doing a do-over for the... We're doing a do-over for one of the streams that was supposed to happen earlier this month, but ended up, just due to scheduling conflicts, not happening. That is, we're going to be talking to Greg Patterson from Nord Games, or Greg Peterson from Nord Games, about their Ultimate Bestiary Orcs and Goblins coming up. So you won't want to miss that, especially if you want... just cool looking, orc and goblin minis. Those will be available to you through this Kickstarter. I'm excited for it. I think it'll be awesome. And then next Saturday, I will keep you guys up to date on what we're doing. There's a possibility... Just based on what I've seen so far, you guys have expressed interest in me doing Baldur's Gate. So we might end up actually just doing Baldur's Gate next week, just to see how it goes and to kind of kick things off. I will be playing as Cromwell, or trying to, so we'll see how well I can do Cromwell in that particular setting. That is going to be it for today, though. As always, thank you guys for dropping in. I appreciate it. And yeah, until next time, whether you rolled a 1 or a 20, I'm so glad that you rolled your bones with me, Ryan Howard, and I will see you next time.